As Rangers fans, we know that a goaltender is the backbone of a hockey team. At Abundant Wealth Management, we are your financial backbone, offering financial planning, wealth management, tax planning, and estate planning services. To schedule your free consultation, head to www.abundant-wealth.com. That's www.abundant-wealth.com. Abundant Wealth Management. Live, plan, triumph.
You're listening to Rangers Radio, your home for end-to-end coverage of the New York Rangers. With your hosts, Brendan Azoff, Zach Domino, and Steve Pappas. Blue Shirts fans, the puck drops now.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to a Sunday morning edition of Rangers Radio. We got a full cast of characters with us this Sunday, and we have a lot to talk about because it's, as the title of this show says, the Rangers can make it anywhere, but they cannot make it in New York, New York. And unfortunately, like Frank Sinatra says, the Rangers can't make it in New York right now. It's been a really tough sledding. I don't even know if tough sledding can categorize what the Rangers are doing right now. It's been abysmal. I know, Steven, you put out a stat yesterday that they have been shut out 5 times in their first 7 games at home, and that matches a franchise record for the most time shutout at home in a season, and it is November 9th today, so they are really doing something special on home ice in honor of their centennial season. But before I toss it to you guys, I'm going to start it off with this, right?
Before I do that, before you go into that, I want to add, you know, the last time that they were shut out at least 5 times in a season on home ice?
It's got to be, close to 100 years ago?
2014, 2015, so they won the President's Trophy. So if it means anything...
Really?
Yeah, that was the last year they were shut out 5 times on home ice.
Were they shut out in their first 7 games at home?
No,
Did they
no,
only have
that's
1 point at home that season? Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
No, that's never happened.
There's no comparable. no comparable to what we're watching right now. But you know, several years ago, I had tweeted out that if you want change, and this was, you know, when the Rangers were struggling, it was right before they announced the letter and the full rebuild. Stop going to the games, right? And I'm not going to mention what site I was writing for at the time, but essentially Rangers PR had reached out to that site with the screenshot of that saying I was trying to start a boycott and that they couldn't, you know, let me write for their site anymore. So a pretty weak move by the organization that, you know, me with my 2,050 followers is trying to start a boycott by saying, if you want change, don't go, whatever. You know, I apologize to the site I was writing for, water under the bridge. I listened to ESPN radio on my way to work last week, and they were talking about the Jets and a similar situation, right? And they were like, if you want change, and this was prior to the deadline, don't go to the games, right? That's the only way these organizations are going to feel it. Cancel your season tickets, all of that. The Rangers are 0-6-1 at home. Chris Drury has essentially taken this roster, a roster that might not have been the most talented top to bottom on paper, wasn't the most analytical darling of a roster in the NHL, but there was a camaraderie there. There was a group that found ways to win games in situations that they shouldn't have won. He has essentially taken that roster and made this the Peter Pruka era Rangers, where we were grasping at straws, hoping for these random names to become household names for the New York Rangers. So I'm going to put it back out there. I was a sucker and I went to the game last night. I have been to 6 periods at MSG this season. I haven't seen a goal. The only way that organizations of this magnitude are going to feel anything is if people just stop going. And like, there's a game Monday against Nashville at home. On paper, that should be their first one at home, right? But the way that you look at things, I have no confidence that they're going to win that game against Nashville at home. And if that place is full, nobody's going to care. If they win that game at home, ticket prices are going to go up the next week. It's pathetic that we're in a situation. They are 0-6-1. They have 1 point in 7 games played at home. They have a .071 point percentage at home, a -17 goal differential, 5.9% on the power play. These are awful numbers on home ice. And especially when you look at the ticket prices that you're paying to go to these games, to not even get to chant the goal song once. We had people around me in our section last night that were like, I don't even care that they're losing. Just score a goal so we could stand up for 5 seconds. That's how pathetic this is. So I wanted your thoughts, boys, on that.
Well, I'm in a tough spot here because I've only been to one game at MSG this year, and they scored 5. So I feel like
That's
I'm a
true.
little lucky.
That's true.
Again, they didn't win that game, but at least they got
90% of their goals in that one game that you were.
At least they scored 5, and you know, I got some perspective this week. I was in Buffalo. I was able to cover the Sabres and Blues game. That game ended 3-0. Sabres lost. They got shut out. Funny enough, and oddly enough, I've been to 2 Sabres games this year, the Ranger game and that one. The Sabres have been shut out both times I've gone. So I have not heard a goal song in Buffalo this season. But that was a team in Buffalo that had won, I believe, 5 of its last 7 home games, had points in 8 of its last 9. They got booed off of their home ice. And don't get me wrong, I understand the context in that. Like, it's the Buffalo Sabres. Like, it's the same as being a Jets fan. You expect something to go wrong, and most likely it does. So I get the whole history there. But I feel like the Rangers don't get booed enough. And it goes back to probably the fans that are there don't really care as much for a regular season game. Like, the people that are sitting in the lower bowl most likely are just kind of suits. And, you know, we get, I mean, you look at it, average ticket price, $250, right? Like $250 for someone to drop on one singular person to go out there and night in and night out against some of the worst teams in the league, some of the best teams in the league. Like, they're not even competitive. They've scored first once against Minnesota. They've had a lead at home for like 7 minutes, if that, right? Like, they're not even in games. And I get that's what happens when you've been shut out 5 of your first 7 times on home ice. But it's not like, I mean, it's so, I'm trying to figure out the words. And like, I believe Johnny Lazarus had tweeted it yesterday after the game about just trying to find some other way to describe what this is, because you've never seen this before. And I don't remember a team going through this, being shut out in their first 5 of their first 7 home games, not having a home win for the first 7 games of the year. The last team that did that was the Islanders in 2021. So but I didn't go in and look, but I'm sure they scored more than 6 goals in their first 7 games, with 5 of them being in one. Like, it's just, there's not enough words out here to describe what this team is on home ice. And then you watch them on the road. That's the most frustrating part, right? Like, if they were just a bad team, like if they were, 0-6-1 on home ice and 2-6-1 on the road, like, then that's excusable. Then you're just like, hey, this is a bad team. But you watch that game in Detroit on Friday night, right? Like, you watch the games in Vancouver, you watch the game in Edmonton, you watch the game in Seattle. Like, that team is there. But for some reason, there's just this roadblock of when they step on Madison Square Garden ice, they cannot figure it out. They can't figure it out. I mean, they're not close to scoring goals. Like, it's not even like they're trying to score. Not they're trying to score goals, but it's not like they are even close to putting the puck in the net. They had 5 minutes, right? Like, they had 5 minutes to start that game yesterday. It was Panarin unable to put the puck in a wide open net. That dude stinks. I don't care if he had 3 against the Red Wings. He's got 8 points this year, and 6 of them have come in 2 games. I don't care that he scored 3 points. That dude's awful. Mika hits Mika, there are times he looks fine. There are times he's been kind of, pedestrian. Start the game, he looked fine, hit the post, had a shot. Like, when your shot leaders are Vladimir Gavrikov and I'm trying to remember who the other one was, but maybe it's Taylor Radish.
Might have been Brodzinski. He threw a couple of pucks in net.
Brodzinski, like, listen, kudos to JT Miller for coming out of the gate and stapling Schaefer twice to start the game, but that dude might be, the Rangers had probably the worst captain in the NHL. That guy now is like leading the NHL in goals for defensemen. I think we now have, again, the worst captain in the National Hockey League, because that dude cannot skate. He cannot shoot. He cannot, make passes. Like, everything he does seems to be off. And it's just, I mean, I feel like I'd be less frustrated if Chris Kreider wasn't leading the league in goals, basically. Jacob Trouba wasn't scoring every other night. All these guys that we shipped out because we thought they were the problem are now succeeding in the National Hockey League. At some point, you got to look introspectively and say, well, all those guys don't seem to be the problem. Keandre Miller looked pretty good before he got hurt in Carolina. All these guys that you shipped out because you thought they were the locker room cancer, and I'm sure people around the Rangers right now, like I'm talking fans, look at Mika Zibanejad and say he's a locker room cancer. You ship him to any other team in the National Hockey League, I guarantee you he scores 35 goals at least, because he's free from whatever is in this organization. The cancer is still there. The cancer is in the organization, and it is eating away at this franchise. This was a team that had Stanley Cup aspirations 2 years ago. This was a team that was Eastern Conference Final bound in 2 of the first 3 seasons, in this regime, and all of a sudden they have just absolutely torn it down. So again, the cancer was not taken out this year. The cancer is still here. The cancer is running this organization.
Amen.
I'm excited for Trocheck to come back. That's kind of the analysis that I have sitting there last night. It's just the players just. It's nice when they win because they look nice and they have a good structure. So you buy into it when they win, and then when they lose, you also buy into it that they're bad, because then you look at the actual players and you see a Taylor Radish on line 1, you see a Cooley and a Lafreniere on line 2, you see a line 3 that's like cute, but like the fact that like a line 3 can look so good at times tells you more about your line 1 and 2 if line 3 is sticking out, and then you have a line 4. So it's like when they're good, you can buy into the structure because the structure is there and it is a real thing. But when they lose and they just look so bad and they get boat raced, you look at the lineup and you look at the players on the ice and they're just not that good. So they're in like this like middle ground where I feel like the structure is going to allow them to win some games because certain nights they can be pesky. Then on other nights, they're just not good enough. They just can't. Over the course of 82 games, they're not good enough to show up every night, which is unfortunate. So they're really in this middle frame. If you get a Trocheck back, if you call up Perreault, again, those are like minor tweaks. Neither of those guys are like world beaters. I've been upfront about my thoughts about Trocheck. I think after what he did 2 seasons ago, we've kind of overrated him. He was brought here to be a 3C. Heedle got hurt like 2 weeks into that first season. Then he really meshed with Panarin being all world, where if one of the 3 of us were the center on that line that year, we're probably putting up some points playing next to that Panarin. A funny thing that I saw, and this is so Rangers, and I saw it when I was laying in bed this morning. I can't confirm this, so I'm not going to say it's for sure, but there's a chance that this isn't the Rangers' 100th season.
I did see that.
It's not.
There's no chance it is.
And that's a problem right there. And that's the gods not allowing us to win at Madison Square Garden on nights where we're celebrating a season that it isn't even. I was reading that certain sites, even with lockouts, are saying this is the 99th season. Even if you think it's the 100th and then you add in the lockout, it does become the 99th. So I think there's a 0% chance that this is the 100th season of the Rangers. And how classic would that be for this franchise to do all these celebrations in a year that it isn't even that year? Just throwing that on top of everything else that's happening with this team on home ice. But I'm going to. Last year, I went to 6 games. They won all 6. The first game I went to was that Devils game in overtime with Sam Carrick that, quote-unquote, turned the tide. And by that, I mean gave us a little bit of hope and made us, trade a first for JT Miller at that point. The first game I'm going to this year, I'm looking at the schedule, is December 2nd. What are the odds that the Rangers don't have...
They have a goal at home ice
at that point? Let me see how many home games will be.
Well, they played Nashville, who, by the way, Nashville's lost 4 in a row going into Monday. So that about sets up perfectly for the Rangers to get boat raced.
I go in 5 more home games, and those games are Nashville, they play at home, St. Louis, they play at home, Tampa Bay, they play at home, and Detroit, they play at home. Then I go and I see the Stars, so they're not going to win that game anyway. But talking about the reason why people are still going, it's to say you were at the first Rangers home win at this point. It's like,
but it's a double-edged sword. So then what? They're 1-6-1. You got to see the 1 win. Like, it's still
pathetic. It's just like, I don't know. I'm in like a weird spot where I'm a sucker, so I still semi believe I semi believe they can't be this bad at home, and it's just like they could be, and they are. But it's like I gotta think if they play 41 games at home,
let me
ask you this.
Let me ask you this, Duke. You watch his team play on the road. You watch his team play at home. Which one is more like the average Ranger game? Which one is it? Is it the 7-1-1 on the road, or is it the 0-6-1 at home? Which one's more like their average?
It's weird because they really don't have an average. It's like their average is too extreme, so it's tough to say. Like it's literally two teams. So it honestly is a tough question to answer because it's not like they're playing middling on the road and doing that thing where they goalie people and score goals, and they're getting boat raced at home. It's like Brendan said off the top, they looked really good in Detroit. A team and Detroit isn't like an awful team. And it's funny to see these lines in Vegas, and I write it in the group chat all the time. Like we get like
I made so much money off the Rangers this year.
Vegas lines, like when we're on the road against decent teams, are so funny. Like it just shows you that we have a chance. That line to open up in Detroit against a good team where both teams were minus 110. Then everyone ran and bet the Red Wings. So our line kind of fell to even, and they ran to minus 120. But they got to figure it out. And a guy I want to bring up, and I hear my baby's not up, but I hear her squirming, so I probably have another 10 minutes when she starts doing this, is how do we feel about Igor?
I was about to bring that up.
Because I don't think this is my thought about him, and I went through this last year, and it's why he upsets me. I don't think he plays bad, and I don't think he's letting in some easy goals. But my thing is, when you get the 11.5 million and you're that guy, you gotta stop some of like those chances, even when teams are like, when you take that type of contract in a salary cap sport, you have to understand that you're taking away money from the people in front of you, that you got to be that last line of defense. And there's got to be some 2-on-1s that Sorokin made some saves yesterday that Igor didn't. And it seems night after night, even when Igor plays well, some of these other goalies are making these saves that he's not making. And again, I don't think it's softies that are going in, but it's at what point with the contract that he has, does he have to let nothing in? Like regardless of how the guys are playing in front of him. Not every game, but with that contract, some games. So it's just like, it's a frustrating part with him because, again, don't think he's been bad. I think he's given up a lot of tough goals, a lot of 2-on-1s, left out to dry a lot. But at some point, he's got to not let up 4 goals against the Islanders, regardless of if they have like a million high danger chances, because that's the responsibility that he undertook when he made us give him that contract.
Listen, I think on the list of problems that the Rangers have this year, Igor Shesterkin is so far at the bottom of that list. If you can't score a goal on home ice, and I tweeted it out,
if he gives up one, they still lose.
They could have played that game for 6. They could still be playing that game right now. They don't have a goal. They could be playing that game and flip the net over, and Sorokin leaves, and all they have to do is hit an empty net. I don't think they score a goal. Like that, this team right now is so inept at scoring goals on home ice that I just don't like. If you're gonna be upset at your goalie for not shutting out the other team because your team can't score, then there's your problem right there. It's not the goaltender. Listen, Igor, to a man himself, will tell you that he has not played great to start this season. Even those numbers or whatever, they're
I think he's in the 20s for expected goals given up versus
15.
what he's given up.
He's at 15.
Yeah, that's after starting the year as like far number 1. So again, it's like he is not the reason we're losing. But at one point when if we're looking at guys that need to step up, does it have to be with that contract? He can't be in the 15s or 20s.
It's not on him at all. It's a mental thing because last night, right, the first 5 minutes of that game, the Rangers had all the momentum. They had all the pressures. Zibanejad hit a post. He then got a backdoor slap shot that he shot 35 feet wide. I cannot get on that guy at all because he's a shell of himself. That play that he had a backdoor one-timer from the lower part of the circle. Even if you look back I was wearing my Stadium Series jersey last night, right? You look back at that game, you know where he shot that game-tying goal from? Like there was zero angle and he scored that. This guy is a shell of what he used to be, especially when it comes to the one-timers. So that doesn't go in, right? Sorokin made a couple of good saves. he wasn't otherworldly. All their chances that they had later on in the game were scrambles in front that barely got any wood on this. Like it wasn't like he was robbing them blind. They were getting some chaotic chances in front, but they weren't actually shoveling much towards them. And everything they did shovel that registered as a shot was from the perimeter. I mean, I watched it happen. It was directly below me for the first and third period. There was chaos, but there wasn't real chances. And then as soon as this team gives up that first mistake, one odd man rush, it is a backdoor one-timer that's tapped in. He can't stop that, right? And he made a great effort to get across. Now in his mind, he knows it's over. Just like I knew it was over, and just like all 18,000 people that are all 16,000 Rangers fans there knew it was over. Because as a goalie, he can do everything but score. And the one thing that this team has not done for him is pick him up at any point. Right away, that game, their momentum dissipates, right? They become the shell of what they were in the first 5 minutes. The Islanders start to carry play. They get the next, 6-7 shots on goal. They score late in that period on another play that he can't really stop. And it's just like, as a goalie, he's like, I can't. I've watched him kind of mentally just go into this. There's nothing I can do. It doesn't matter how much money he's making. It doesn't matter how good he's been. There is nothing he could do. He was that guy in the first 2 to 3 home games of this season where he was not giving up anything at home. They had a stretch where they were losing. They got shut out in a couple of games. He had given up a goal per game at home. You can't ask for your goalie to do anything more than that, and they still lost those games. So this is not on Igor Shesterkin. This is not on the $11.5 that they paid him. You could pay your goalie $15 million and still build a more competent roster around him than Chris Drury has. This is all on the management. And I'm so sick and tired. One of the biggest things that pisses me off is every offensive zone draw that JT Miller's on the ice. He doesn't go up to the circle. He points at everybody else, tells them where he wants to be, and then loses the freaking draw clean. This is on the captain and the GM. JT Miller has been god-awful this season.
He sucks. And he kind of like – if you look at the Rangers and everything that's wrong with them, you just watch him play. Like, he is so slow. And I say that every episode. They are the slowest team in the league by a wide margin. And the other side of it is they're not even just slow. They can't skate. Like, how many times last night did they go to the bench and someone was getting their blade changed? And it had nothing to do with the blade because the other team was on the same ice as them. Like, Panarin ate shit like 3 times. Cooley, every time he tried to leave the zone with the puck, literally would fall over. They're not fast and they can't skate. So sometimes they look like a peewee hockey team. Like when they're trying to move terrible. The puck out of their zone, it's crazy.
So JT Miller is a bigger issue to me than Igor Shesterkin is. And if you're Chris Drury, you know how last year he put all this crap out in the news to try to get rid of all these players, and he started this whole descent, which is now why we're talking about what we're talking about right now. Instead of doing that, why don't you just go to Shesterkin? Why don't you go to Fox? Why don't you go to these guys and say, hey, listen, you guys want to have successful careers? Why don't you let me trade you? Because clearly playing in New York for the Rangers doesn't help anybody out. That I bet you they all waived their no movement clause for, because Jesus, all you got to do is look at Anaheim, and I think we all owe Pat Verbeek an apology, because it's amazing what you could do when you take these guys that the Rangers consider old and washed and you put them with actual young, talented players where you know how to draft and develop, and all of a sudden these guys look like world beaters again, because Chris Kreider had a bad year last year. So did the rest of the Rangers, right? Jacob Trouba had a tough year. He wasn't really the overall issue. The problem is that the Rangers gave a stupid contract to him to begin with. The problem has always been the guy at the top controlling this whole thing has zero clue how to build a winning roster in the 2000s. That's the problem. It's not the players. It's not the goalie. It's not the contract that the goalie has. It's not Adam Fox, because Adam Fox has been the best player on the freaking team. And I can't tell you how many people last night were like, oh, yeah, Fox is soft. Okay, you go out there, you play, and you tell me if you can come anywhere close to what Fox does for this team and how many defensemen he's carried through the thing. It's all at the top. And until people stop going and until there's a reason for Drury to get fired in Dolan's eyes, this is not something that's going to change. This is going to stay at the top.
I also think Lafreniere sucks. I just want to say that. I don't want to give it. We've talked about a lot of people.
Lafreniere, he'll be a 50-goal scorer with somebody else.
I know plus minus isn't a big. I know plus minus isn't like a stat at all that's that important. I just feel every year when I'm looking at like the plus minus for the Rangers, Laf is like minus $1 billion. I'm looking at it again this year. He's minus 10.
Did you watch him? Did you watch him on the first goal last night?
ran over Cooley. Cooley was in the right position, and Loft joined him in front of the net for some reason, which allowed the odd man rush the other way. He has moments of skill, like we saw when he had the breakaway, because, yeah, he does have some skill to him. That's why he was drafted first. His hockey IQ in NHL 26, when I'm looking at, like, stats, must be zero. It must be literally zero. He has no idea what to do with the puck in certain situations. That's a theme with the team. Like, even a guy that we trust in Gavrikov with 30 seconds left tried to, like, fly the zone and go into the offensive zone last night, which allowed, like, a 2-on-1 rush with 20 seconds left. And even I forget who said it, if it was one of the announcers or it might have been Brian Boyle when they came back the next period. It's like, you're taught the last minute. If you don't have a clear, like, chance at gaining the zone, or you're losing in the third period, you're just trying to get out of the period at that point and give up nothing. Like, that's another example of what Brendan's saying in terms of, like, with Shesterkin. It may even be getting to the defense now. Like, we can't score goals. We have to, like, join the rush. We have to do these things. Because with 30 seconds left, Gavrikov, there's a tie-up in the middle of the ice, like, literally right in the middle of the ice on the boards. He's, like, flying in front instead of helping, back. And then they win that puck battle on the boards, and it's a 2-on-1. So, I mean, when you don't have skill, the last thing you can do is not have IQ. You got to play smart if you don't have skill, and you got to be making the right plays. When you do those two things in tandem, when you're the less skilled team and you're making the worst plays IQ-wise, you lose 5-0 at home to a team that's rebuilding and not that good, and supposedly your rival. Like, that's just what happens. It's not magic what's happening. You have no skill and you're playing bad hockey, you're going to lose 5-0. That's why when the Rangers are on the road, it looks good when they win, because they have to play a good style of hockey, because they're not winning with skill. When they win these road games, they look good when they win. But when they lose, boy, oh boy, do they look bad, because the skill is just not there. And there's like 4 or 5 different plays you can always point out throughout the night. And it's like, what are you doing? And they literally, with the Rangers this year, when it rains, it pours. We're talking about the Gavrikov play. We're talking about the Loft play. Immediate goals the other way. Like, it's not like these mistakes are ending up with the puck in the back of the Rangers net. So it's just illuminating these problems. And to be honest, there's probably 5 or 6 other ones that aren't ending up in the back of the net that we're just not talking about. And it's just constant bad plays that, to what Brendan's saying about Shesterkin, is moving to the rest of the team, where it's like, we got to find a way to put a puck in the back of the net, because we just can't. And these guys are skating back to the bench with their heads down, slamming their stick. We saw Mika 2 or 3 times last night because he's missing the net by, 30 feet, slamming the door behind him. This team is going to be like, when you ask me, Steven, like, which team is the real team, it's going to get more to the point with human nature, where if this thing continues at home, it's going to affect them on the road very soon. Like, if they get boat raced by the Predators and then lose another game at home, and we're sitting here like, 8-1 with no goals at home, what's going to happen is the way they play at home is going to slowly find itself to them playing that way on the road, because they're already playing this way on the road, and it's not impacting them at home. So if you ask me who the Rangers are going to become, if this home stretch continues, they're going to become more like the team they are at home than they are the team that they are on the road. The other side of this, and just to say something positive, because there really isn't much positive about this team, they're absolutely the worst team of all time at home. They're sitting here 7-7-2 because of how they've been on the road. Beat the Predators. Just beat the Predators. Score a goal against the Predators and beat the Predators. We're 8-7-2. And who knows? The other side of that coin is the East is a gauntlet this year. Basically, everyone's over 500 except for, I'm looking right now, the Sabres. So you can't just win one game at home. You got to put on a winning streak, because winning one game at home, you're still in second to last place or third to last place. But they're in danger zone of completely falling off a cliff if this home streak continues.
I'll tell you this, if you want to laugh a little bit, 30% of the league shutouts this year have come at the hands of the New York Rangers.
I mean, everybody's talking about it. It's a league-wide story. They're even talking about it between periods. Like, it's crazy that, I mean, it's just, the joke writes itself. The most famous arena in the world that's celebrating their 100th year in existence, this team. It's not like, again, like, they're not losing. They're getting shut out. They're getting shut out and not looking close. And Steve Valiquette said it, and Brendan's been saying it for a while. He was early on it, and now Steve Valiquette is slowly saying it. The XG is one thing. The high danger chances are one thing, but these Rangers have high danger chances, and the goalies can save the shots with their eyes closed. They're not high danger shots. They're shooting these wide open shots that are in the slot in front of the net, and Mika did it again yesterday, and JT Miller did it again yesterday, literally right at the chest. Right at the chest. And they don't have scores, so they hit like high danger chances, and XG isn't equal for everyone. I'd rather Connor McDavid with an XG of 0.5 than Will Cooley with an XG of 2, because Will Cooley is shooting this right at the goalie's net, a goalie's chest, where other guys are, finding ways to put it in the net, where the lack of talent almost shows itself most when you look at these XGF and high danger chances for the Rangers, because there's a clear reason why. They're just not talented enough to put in those chances. It's not a snake-bitten thing. They're not talented enough to put in these high danger chances because they're not good at shooting the puck. They're not goal scorers on this team.
Yeah, we're in this beautiful. I love this because for years, everyone's saying, "Oh, the Rangers are special teams power play merchants. Their analytics suck." Now we're in a season where the analytics are actually good, and the Rangers can't score on the power play. I think they're 5.9% on the power play at home. They have all these things where they have trouble scoring, but hey, the analytics are good, right? This is the perfect encapsulation of the problem with analytics in sports. Analytics are an extremely useful tool to see how your possession game is, to see who's controlling the pace of play. There is not an ounce of analytics that actually dictates how the team's going to do win or loss, especially when it comes to hockey. This is still a human sport. It's still played by human players. And the reality of the situation is if you don't have the right guys to control the pace of play that analytics dictate and also have those same guys that have skill, you're not going to have the results that you want. And when you look at the Rangers right now, that's probably their biggest problem, is they simply just don't have the talent around them to contribute and score on these high danger chances. JT Miller had a 2-on-1 shorthanded chance. I believe it was against Detroit Friday night. And instead of just taking the extra space that he had, he took a slap shot and shot 35 feet high and wide. That's a potential high danger chance if he takes to the right area. It's just a bad decision by the human making the play. It's the same thing up and down the lineup. And then you look at other teams around the league, right? Edmonton Oilers have how much of their cap tied amongst three players in Draisaitl, McDavid, and Bouchard. And I'm not saying that those three players on the Rangers wouldn't make a difference, but if you look at how much of their cap is tied up, they still have built a competent team around them that allowed them to get to back-to-back Stanley Cup finals.
Did you watch them last night?
I did what? They got boat raced last night.
They lost 9-1.
But Colorado's another team, right? How much money are they giving McCarr and McKinnon? And they still have this group of guys around them because they assess talent, right? They knew that keeping Mikko Rantanen was a price tag that they were not willing to pay, something that the Rangers are going to have to decide about Artemi Panarin. And I bet you bottom dollar they're going to wind up paying that guy because Chris Drury's not going to want to go into free agency without having maintained or signed a big name. So instead of rebuilding like they should, getting as much draft capital as they can heading into this year's draft, they're going to re-sign a 35-year-old Panarin for a price tag you shouldn't get. But what did Colorado do? No, they've traded Mikko Rantanen. They got Martin Necas. They re-signed him. Marty Necas looks great there, right? It's simple things over time that add up. And for the New York Rangers, you're sitting here, right? You're telling me that if the deadline comes around and you're a 500 hockey team, right? Because at the East right now, being around that 500 mark isn't going to get you into the postseason. If that's where you're sitting come the deadline, Connor Sheary would fetch you a mid-round pick. Taylor Radish is signed for another year. You might be able to get a second or a third-round pick for him, right? Artemi Panarin, if he waives his no-move clause, you're going to get a first with this market. There's so many guys on this team that you can actually move and just expand that draft capital. They already have 2 firsts this year in this draft. Just keep on adding draft capital because as the Ducks have proven, the veterans are good, right? You need certain veterans that are around. It's much better if you trade for a guy like Kreider who has a track record of being a 30-goal scorer than you do signing Sheary's and Parsonins and Taylor Radishes of the world. But the veterans are needed. But the veterans can't do it all at this stage of their career unless you also have young talent around them. And the Rangers have the goalie. They have the number 1 and 2 defensemen in Fox and Gavrikov, right? They have those pieces. They have the integral parts of this roster that you need. The problem is that they are unwilling to infuse some of their young talent right now, and they don't have expansive young talent to infuse. So when you couple those two things together, You could clearly see. I mean, I'm not an NHL GM. I can guarantee you that if I was sitting in jury seat right now, I'd be going in a different direction. And I think I'd actually do a better job, to be quite frank, because I know what I'm looking for, right? I know, and the contract stuff, that's all different. But I know that this team, watching them game in and game out, is in need of young talent that could skate. They don't need any more 6'5" guys, right? They don't need any more gritty guys. I hate that freaking word because this is not 1912. They were showing all the greatest moments in Rangers history at the Garden last night. So many black and white moments, first of all. It was just actually embarrassing. But if you watch the goals and how the game was played back then, if that's the mold that you're trying to build this team, you have no business being around an NHL franchise. That game was so different. That game required size because it was just a bunch of big guys trying to hit each other and hook each other, and it was all allowed. This game is all about size and skill now. Speed and skill, excuse me. Not about size and toughness. We don't need guys dropping gloves. Build through the draft. Get rid of the bad contracts. I don't care if Panarin goes somewhere else and scores 100 points. The Rangers are not at that stage right now, right? This is a lot easier of a pill to swallow when you watch what Trouba's doing, what Kreider's doing, what some of the other guys that you've traded are doing, if you commit to retooling this entire team. It cannot be, oh, these guys are cancerous, get rid of them, and let's just sign a bunch of other third-line players. It has to be a commitment to rebuild. Even when they put the letter out, that was not a commitment to rebuild. They stumbled into a first and a second overall pick. They signed Panarin, and within 3 years, they were making the playoffs and going on runs again because they got lucky with the draft capital, and they also signed a bunch of players. Don't do that. I know the Rangers can sign people that are free agents at all times. I understand that. If you are a competent GM and you are in the seat that Drury's in right now, you are looking at this roster and saying, we have some pieces. If we go 2 to 3 years where we are building through the draft, we're going to be a much better team than we will be in 2 to 3 years if we refuse to commit to the draft and just start signing older guys. It's really not that hard.
But again, all goes back to what I had said earlier. It's that, everybody sat here at the end of the year and said, oh, the cancer is gone. The cancer is not gone. The cancer is still running the organization. It's no surprise that Jacob Trouba and Chris Kreider and Keandre Miller have gone on to different teams and all of a sudden have this new lease on life and are excited to come to the rink and are playing some of their best hockey that they've played in their careers. It's because they don't have a meddling GM sitting there breathing down their necks, trying to put his fingers on the organization. I mean, Chris Drury has, again, taken a team that went to 2 conference finals in 3 years, had this really good chemistry, and threw a nuclear bomb in there by treating Barclay Goodrow the way that he did. Listen, you're allowed to be a hard-ass general manager. You're allowed to be it's my way or the highway. But if you have something that works, which that version of the Rangers clearly worked, I get $3 million a year for Barclay Goodrow is not a good contract. But what happened? He was loved by the team. The guys loved him. And the way you treated him, a veteran in this league, by the way, a Stanley Cup champion in this league, the way you treated Barclay Goodrow then rubbed off on your captain, it rubbed off on your longest tenure player, and then it rubbed off through the rest of the team. And now you're sitting here in the 2025-26 season, basically with a team that resents its general manager, right? Like I would almost listen, no one's going to ever write a book about this version of the New York Rangers, but if they did, I could guarantee the amount of people that would come out and talk about Drury the same way that every former player of Brian Kelly is talking about him right now. Like they almost feel like the same person, just very disingenuous, not great at their job. Like that, that's the best way I could describe it. It's like a guy that is drunk with this power. Like you talked about it a couple weeks ago. Nobody in the Rangers just jets through the minor league system. And the only person that's jetted through the minor league system is their general manager. And listen, Jeff Gorton is building a great team over there in Montreal, infusing that young and that young speed and skill. And Chris Drury again is sitting here on his hands sitting on his hands with a team that can't score goals at home, can't win games at home. That's one of the oldest teams in the league, and they look like, I saw a tweet actually from a Nashville fan yesterday. It was, did you see that goal from? It was a pass from Zuccarello to Kaprizov against the Islanders. Kaprizov goes between his legs to Zuccarello. Zuccarello fires it right back to Kaprizov. Someone from Nashville goes, "We're not playing the same sport." And I completely, wholeheartedly agree. The Rangers are not playing the same sport as most of these teams. And by the way, Minnesota is one of the worst teams in the league to start the year. So we're not even playing the same sport as some of the worst teams in the league. It's just the amount of times that I could fool myself into sitting here and watching a New York Rangers game and thinking it'll be anything different than what it already is. Like, I sat there as soon as they made it 2-0, I sat there. I said, "They're not scoring a goal. Like, screw coming back in this. They're not scoring a goal. It's the same script night in and night out on home ice." And I don't understand how this happens. I know I've talked a lot in this episode, but I genuinely don't have the words to describe what we have seen out of this team to start the year, especially on home ice, especially with the fact that they've looked competent. They've looked like a good NHL team on the road, to then just come back home and lose all of that. Like, not even just lose the game, but lose all that skill, like lose all of that, like, hockey IQ, that hockey sense. They're not, how many goals, I'm trying to think, how many goals in the final minute have they given up on the road this year? Maybe one, maybe
one or two, but it's like a nightly thing when they're at home.
Every time they're at home, they're giving up a goal in the final minute, or they're doing it twice in a night. Like, it's just, I don't know what is going on in Madison Square Garden. Like, do they walk through these metal detectors and just, like, open up the top of their head, pick out their brain, and put in another one? Like, what's happening? There's no other explanation when you watch this team on the road to when you watch this team at home. They can't be the same players. Like, the Mika Zibanejad, the JT Miller, the Alexis Lafreniere that play at Little Caesars Arena on Friday night could not have been the same guys that played at Madison Square Garden on Saturday night. They're not the same. Like, what's happening?
The saddest thing is, if they were just 3-3-1 at home, this is a 10-4-2 team, and it's a much different conversation that we're having right now. Like, all you had to do with the way you've played on the road, and listen, I've listened to a ton of former NHL players talk about it, and I've always said, I've said it on this show, if you want to go back to prior seasons and listen to me talk, it is much easier to start the season on the road because you are actually building that camaraderie with the group. You don't have to worry about the internal pressures. You're not all separated with your families, right? You're in a hotel together, you're eating together, you're playing together. And they've proven that once they get away from home, and I understand that there is not the New York Rangers are probably in the highest pressure U.S. market for hockey, right? I understand that, especially media presence. It's not comparable to Toronto and Montreal, but when you're talking about the U.S. only, the New York Rangers are probably one of the hottest pressure environments for hockey here. So I get that when you come to MSG, there might be a little bit of a drop off, a little bit more on your mind. And I fully expect this team, and they've proven in years past, to be better on the road. But there's a difference between being 7-1-1 on the road, where you're not only playing games like you did in Detroit on Friday, where they were the better team throughout, they look good, they finished their chances, but you're also playing games where you come back from behind like they've done in Montreal and a couple of other places. You play games where, Edmonton, like you did against Seattle, Edmonton, you play games like you did against Seattle, where you're clearly dominating them. You haven't been able to get ahead, but you find a way to win the game. And then you come home and it's just a complete 180. That there shouldn't be that much of a disparity. And to me, it's just, there's something about that building that is like, there's ghosts of the teammates past it's still there, right? All the turbulence that we heard about last year that we thought, okay, you leave that in the past season, you come back and you bounce back. It's still there, even with a different group. And to me, that's all on how the team's being run. And I can't stress the fact enough that I look at Pittsburgh, right? Pittsburgh's new head coach is Dan Muse. I think that out of all the things that have gone bad for New York this season, the one thing is that clearly Mike Sullivan's system is much different and much more of a positive than any of Laviolette's or Gallant's were. But you look at Dan Muse, who goes to Pittsburgh. He takes a team there that I know we peg to be towards the bottom of the Metro. A lot of people peg to be towards the bottom of the Metro. And all they do is they draft Ben Kindle, 11th overall. And instead of telling him, go back to juniors or go play in the AHL, they put him on a line with Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin. He's now got 5 goals in 14 games. He's got 7 points. That team is right below the Devils now in the Metro at the top. And that could fade, right? We don't know what's going to happen. Sidney Crosby is, of course, a player that the Rangers only dream of getting in their entire history of the sport. But the fact that they had the confidence to say, you know what, results this year would be nice, but they're not necessarily needed. This is a rebuild. Dubas has said that there. Let's put him with these guys and let him learn, because his development will actually get better if he's playing with Crosbys and Malkins at the NHL level than it would be in the AHL level. Whereas the Rangers never gave Othman a real chance. He played 1 game, he was done. Yeah, it was a bad game, but have you watched any of their home games recently? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who's playing. Nobody's scoring. They have Gabe Perreault, who's had 5 straight games with a goal in the AHL, and I understand you want him to develop. That's great. Yeah, let's develop these guys now that we actually need the top 6 help. But when they were playing Lafreniere and Kakko on the third line 10 minutes a night because they didn't have the need for forward depth at that point, they didn't need to go to the AHL. They could just play 10 minutes. So they stunted their development, and now they're overcompensating with the Perreaults and Othmans of the world. You cannot tell me that a line of Perreault, Laba, and Berard, say, would not be a better line than what they have right now. You cannot tell me that putting Perreault in the top 6, moving Cooley down to the third line, would not be a better option than they have now. There is nothing that you can tell me and nothing that you could try to sell me. I don't care if you are somebody that believes that he should stay in the AHL to develop longer. I don't care if you're one of the older generation that's going to tell me he's too undersized to play in the top 6 in the NHL. There is not one side of that bridge that you can sell me that I'm going to buy. And it's just pathetic that we're sitting here talking about how the one thing this team needs is an influx of talent. And they have a guy that they picked in the first round who has done nothing but score no matter where he's played, whether it's college, it's the U.S. national development team, or it's in the AHL now. And he can't help this team. He's not going to develop more under Mike Sullivan in the NHL, playing alongside some of the Rangers' top 6 guys, than he is in the AHL. Because if he comes up and he's not getting the same ice time he's getting in the AHL, that's a problem, because this team has nobody that should be in front of him on the depth chart right now. Not one person. I'm sorry. He should be right on that power play 1, because it's not working. 5.9% at home, 16% on the road. Power play 1's not working. Nothing should stop him from getting up there. They traded their one net front presence that was good with redirects. There was a shot that Fox had last night on the power play. I think it was in the second period. He took one of those seeing eye wrist shots that he always takes, where 9 out of 10 times Kreider would be in front to tip it. JT Miller was untouched in front of the net, completely missed the deflection. It's an easy save. And I'm watching that play going, JT Miller is not Chris Kreider in front of the net, right? You moved on from pieces that all knew what their roles were and did it well. And they had times throughout their tenures they didn't do it that well. But you moved on from pieces that knew what they were doing. And you replaced it with pieces that were not even comparable to replacing that. You could move on from whoever you want. I think one thing that Rangers fans do is we get attached to players to a certain degree that you probably shouldn't. And the management, the fact that whenever people are up in arms about a player, the management just moves them, is kind of a red flag, right? The management should have a much different perspective on things. But if you're going to move on from somebody, the objective has to be, okay, this player was making $6.5 million. We need to replace what he does with 1 or 2 players that are making less, right? That should be the objective. Instead, they moved on from Kreider and they brought in Sheary and Radish. And I'm not even trying to slam these guys, because I think that for what their role should be, it's not their fault. But when Sheary's playing top 6 minutes, when Radish leads your team in goals, these guys are not that's not what they're built for. Look at what Radish did on a very good Washington team. Look at what his role was there, right? Look at what Sheary did last year. He was in the AHL for the bulk of it because teams deemed him a solid role player, but not in the top 6 or 9. The Rangers just right there. These are not guys that could replicate that net front presence.
Think about that. The Rangers have a guy that spent the majority of last season in the American Hockey League in their top 6.
Yep. And it's a nice story, right? He battled, he came back. No other team does it. No other team in their right mind would do it. I mean, you look across the Hudson at the Devils, right? The Devils built through the draft. They signed a couple of people. But even those guys that are of the Sheary mold, they're not playing out of position, right? Paul Cotter, I think, has more skill than Sheary does. He's still in their bottom 6, excuse me. It's not like they're playing people out of position. The only time they do it is when the injuries inevitably happen with the top group. But it's not a hard concept here. I understand getting those types of players. You have to hit every once in a while. And unfortunately for the Rangers, the year they had those picks, they didn't hit. So be it. But I don't necessarily blame the players as much as I blame the upper management. And you could say Jeff Gordon is building a team in Montreal. He didn't do it here. Well, he was saddled with Glenn Sather, whose old-fashioned views were kind of still paramount to his. And now you could say Drury's a terrible GM, which I would agree with. But at the same time, it seems like everything he does, he's being patted on the back by Dolan. Why would he change? Right? In his mind, this is what it takes to win. And the guy that owns the team is saying, I trust you. I believe in you. When everybody else outside of those two is saying, scratching your head a little bit because these decisions don't make sense. So I've kind of, exhausted my thoughts on the matter. To me, you cannot be a team that's 7-1-1 on the road and also be the same team that's 0-6-1. I think that there is a middle ground. And the sad thing is that if they were playing at a 65 to 70 point percentage on the road and they just were 500 at home, they'd be a top 3 team in the Metro. That's the reality of the situation. Because the road things that they do, they play a perfect style of hockey for the road. And then they come home, and all you have to do is play that same style of hockey. And it's just, like you said, completely scrambled up there. And it's not a matter of, that's not a talent thing. That's not a systems thing. That's not a coaching, a goaltending, a defense thing. That is simply the players seeing that they're trailing in a game, thinking in their head, we've played now 7 games. We've been shut out in 5 of them. We can't let this happen. And everything's just tightened up. Everything changes. They needed a goal last night. Their defense tried to be more active, but when you have defensemen like Susi and Vakanainen who just are clueless, right? I think Susi's been better this year than he was when he got traded over here last year, but he doesn't have the foot speed or the puck skills or the stick skills to be able to actually help you offensively. He's a pylon. Vakanainen had 35 seconds with the puck on his forehand, looked around the entire ice like, where do I go with it? And then got pickpocketed from behind. Pylon. These guys are not NHL players. There's a reason the Anaheim Ducks said good riddance.
The Rangers have one offensive-minded defenseman, and it's Adam Fox.
Yeah, and they're asking Gavrikov to try and, shoot the puck on goal. That's not his game. Gavrikov and Fox have been perfect together. The problem is you have 4 other defensive spots, and not one of them think that way. The only other one that thinks that way at times is Braden Schneider, who just he simply is not at that level.
Yeah.
And, by the way, that's another AHL guy that they have that might be worth giving a shot. The guy you traded Keandre Miller to Carolina for because you really wanted that part of the deal back, and now you're just going to bury him. And I know he only has like 1 point in the AHL, but that's because he's probably in his head thinking, oh, look at what's going on with the big club. How the hell am I not up there? Hey, come on, man.
Again, it comes down to, and again, retrospectively, obviously, listen, at the time and still now, I will always say you had to trade Kreider, you had to trade Trouba, you had to trade Keandre Miller. I think the why you had to trade them is something I'm thinking about a little bit differently now. At the time, right, when they made these deals, I sat there and said, these guys just weren't working. Like, these were the guys that, had the biggest issue. It's just get these guys out. They need a fresh start. The team needs a fresh start. It's not the case. That's not the case. The case is the general manager just completely ran these guys out of town. And again, I can say it till I'm blue in the face. I can say it for, I could probably say it for the same amount of time as it takes the Rangers to score a goal on home ice. Like, I can just keep going and keep saying that Chris Drury is the problem. Chris Drury is the problem. This team is just who they are. Like, this team, like I said to Zook before he left, this team is a lot closer to the home version of themselves than they are the road version of themselves. They're not as good as they are in the road. Sure, they're not as good as they are on the road in general, and they're not as bad as they are at home in general, but they're a lot closer to what they are at home than what they are on the road. They're a lot closer to a completely dysfunctional group of hockey players with no real guidance and leadership that at times are soft and at times are mentally weak, and at times once they get beaten down slightly, it's over. So, I mean, that's what they were last year. You can't convince me that this team is anything else. If they go out and lose again on Monday and then beat Tampa and whoever else on the road their next 2 games, like I won't feel it. I will not feel it until, I won't feel it at all this year. I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to feel it at all this year because what's the only thing that this team can do that would move any of us at this point? It's win a Stanley Cup. Can this team sneak into the postseason? Maybe, right? Maybe as an 8 seed. But what does that mean? What does that do? What am I supposed to get excited about if a team sneaks in as an 8 seed?
The only thing you can get excited about is if they do, you look back at the team they played last night, right? The Islanders, what was it, 3 or 4 years ago when they were that 500 team, fans were questioning whether they were going in the right direction. They rattled off like that 16-game point streak and they catapulted themselves in, right? And the sad thing is that with how their road record is, the Rangers this year, if they did rattle off one of those streaks where they actually start winning at home, it does change the mindset of the group, right? As fans and as people that are, having a podcast about them and talking about the lack of talent is evident when they're at home. But when they're on the road, it hasn't affected them. So if they go on this, 10 to 15 game point streak, they jump themselves up in the standings and they start playing with confidence at home where they become a 500 team at home on the season. Well, it's really hard for them to get below 500 on the road with how they've played, right? So to me, that's the only thing that can really move me. Or you call up these young kids that they have, you hope that they, pan out, and you actually start making skilled hockey trades and decisions now, where you move on from the old guard, slowly but surely peel them off, build through the draft, give those kids that you draft a chance at the NHL level. It's one of those two options. Either this home thing is this crazy fluke, they win a game and it changes things, they stay successful on the road because Sullivan's system works and they have the goaltending for it, or you commit fully to retooling. But if they commit to retooling right now and rebuilding, the only problem I have is that the guy who's going to be running that rebuild is not the guy that I trust. So we're in a predicament as Rangers fans where we all know. I mean, I read all these comments on social media. I listened and talked to people when I'm at games. We all know that this team right now is not good enough, but nobody trusts the guy that's making decisions to change the team that's not good enough. Because if he had his world, there would be 7 forwards on this team that are 6'8", like he's building an NBA starting 5. Not one of them can move with any type of foot speed. But hey, man, if you want to fight somebody, we're going to beat you. Okay, cool. We'll win a fight. Well, guess what? Your number one enforcer, Matt Rempe, has won maybe 1 or 2 fights of the 15 to 20 he's had in the NHL. Right? You called up
Shemalash has won more than.
I don't even want to butcher his name.
That's another thing. Hang on, that's another thing. We've talked so much shit that I want to get into. I want to get into that. How do you say that guy's name?
It's not how it's I've just been calling him Yaroslav because I can't even.
They've been calling him Shemalash, I think, and it's CHMLAR.
I think it's
Shemalash. How is that? There's no S.
It is because there's supposed to be a dialect over the R, which I guess he's from Czechia, so that converts there. But like out of respect for him, my American mind can't comprehend it. I don't want to butcher his name.
I'm gonna say I'm like American braining this whole thing that like I don't understand how those letters end up saying that name
with those sounds. Yeah,
with those sounds, like it makes no sense.
I feel bad for the kid too because they call him up after Othman. They're playing him on the 4th line, which is if he was going to be a regular NHL guy, that's where he's going to be. But the one thing this team has is 4th liners, and it's okay. He had a fight against Hamonic, who's at this age he's not this heavyweight enforcer. He won. Yeah, he won the fight. Cool, but what does he do to help the team right now? Like he had a chance in front yesterday where if he finds a way to lift the puck in tight, they score a goal, and he put it right into Sorokin's pad. And again, it's not on him, but how is that the guy that gets the call up? It's just mismanagement. It's all mismanagement.
I want to, if this works, I don't know how this works. I'm going to hope I didn't just screw everything up. We got an answer on the 100-year question.
Okay.
We got an answer on Twitter. I hope, I don't know. That's it. It's from Kurt. So, it's hard. You could zoom in if you want, but he went through it is 100 years. Like it is 100 years if you don't count the lockout, which you shouldn't. If you don't count the lockout, then it's 99. But if you do count the lockout year, it is technically 100 years of New York Rangers. The Rangers have existed for 100 years, but they've been playing for 99,
and they've won 4%.
And they've won 4% of their home games, if that helps.
It's
They've
just
won 4%. Dude, okay. I had that. So 40%, by the way, 42% of games this year that have ended in a shutout have been with the New York Rangers involved, whether they get the shutout or they are shut out, which they're shut out more times than they've not been shut out.
Have they been shut out on the road?
No,
right?
They're both of their shutouts have come out on the road though.
It's really hard to talk and analyze it because it's just mind-boggling. I don't think anybody's seen it. You if you see a team that's 0-6-1 at home, the majority of the time, like let's look at the Sharks, right? The Sharks last year were terrible. But even though they were terrible at home because they were also terrible on the road, they still found ways to score goals at home. Like no team is ever this bad at home and then that good on the road. Like you can't be the worst home team and the best road team over the course of an entire 82-game season. Something's got to even out. Now, as a team, you hope it evens out towards the road side. But the reality of the situation is who knows? It's impossible to analyze because, one, it's a 9-game sample size and one on the road and a 7-game sample size at home. But two, it's like they're the opposite ends of either extreme. It's not
there's
like
no middle ground. Like
team.
I said it. I don't know if it was 2 weeks ago or last week that this you might not have been here. This team is Jekyll and Hyde, right? Like they're Jekyll and Hyde. They are, and it's the most extreme version of Jekyll and Hyde. It's either the best, they look the greatest road team in NHL history and the worst home team in NHL history. Like if you just stay consistent, it's consistency. This team has absolutely no consistency, and it seems to start as soon as they get on home ice.
Yep.
So
it's mind-boggling.
I don't have an answer, and I know we've gone on for over an hour now, but like I don't have an answer to what on earth this is. Like I'm sitting here trying to rationalize it, and whether it's in our just any group chat or on Twitter, like I'm trying to find different words and different phrases to use other than embarrassing or stuff or just stuff like that, because I feel like I've overused it this year, but it's just so hard to fully put into words what this team is. And I said it after the Detroit game, like, yeah, that game was nice and all, but win a game at home and then you can move me. Like it's so hard. Like they played hard for 5 minutes last night, and they played hard for 5 minutes and then mailed it in, right? Like it's an embarrassing effort.
You're honestly better off putting all 5 of your skaters behind Igor Shesterkin in the net, hoping that for 60 minutes the other team just peppers you with shots, but you guys, because you're stacking the net, nobody scores, and then you could at least get a point in overtime. That's how miserable their offense.
Wear a cage in a bubble, like just like how the field hockey, that's how they do like their shootouts or whatever. Just do that. Or when I don't watch enough soccer, but I know soccer at points, if you get like a free kick in the box or whatever, you can.
Yeah, they have the wall that the players build up.
You can just stack the wall in the net, which I have no clue how that's legal. I will never understand that sport. Just do that. Like there's no reason for you to even try offensively because you're not going to do anything. Like just wait. And then 3-on-3 overtime, I mean, just get to a shootout. Just get a game to a shootout. If you play 1-on-1 with the other team's goalie, I'd take my goalie 9 times out of 10.
Well, and like the first 5 minutes yesterday, right? If that shot from Zibanejad goes crossbar in it as opposed to crossbar and out, it did feel like that would be the only thing they needed in that game to catapult
Panarin. I mean, 40 seconds in, Panarin's got a chance with a wide open net, and he flubbed the chance.
He did, and everyone around was like, "Oh, what a save!" I'm like, he got nothing on that. Sorokin, it was actually a harder save because he blockered it away, but I don't know if it was going in. But he completely missed the puck. And then Zibanejad had the bumper play on the first power play they had where it was a complete one-timer, and it got blocked again and flubbed right on goal. Like if you're that good and you see the guy standing there, don't try to slap shot the puck through him. Drag it a little bit, change the angle. Like these are all things that they were doing when they were going on runs that now all of a sudden they just can't do anymore, and it's all mental.
You can't shoot a puck through a guy. You just can't shoot a puck. You can't shoot the puck hard enough to kill a guy with it and have it go through him. Like it's just, you can't do it. It's physically impossible.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, there's just like I said this too. A good team, that game's 4-0 in the first period. The Rangers had 5 shots. 4 of them, if they were a good team, probably would have went in. It was, at least one from Panarin, one from Zibanejad not on the power play, and then they had chances on the power play and didn't score. Like a good team has 3 to 4 goals in the first like 6 or 8 minutes of that game. Like they just don't have the talent. And I don't want to continue arguing with people that try and tell me that this team has talent. That you are gaslighting me if you are telling me that this team has talent. Watch this team play on home ice. Watch them go stretches of 14, 15, 16, 20, 22 minutes without a shot on goal, without extended time in the offensive zone, because that happens a lot more than you think it has, especially on home ice this year. Talented teams don't go through droughts like this, not even just scoring, but getting shots on goal. Then you add into the fact that they haven't scored on home ice and they haven't won on home ice. This doesn't happen to talented teams. This happens to bad teams with bad players that have no talent. And that's what the Rangers are. You can't tell me otherwise. I don't care what their record is on the road. I don't care what they look like on the road. If they win every single road game this year, they're still a 500 team. So I don't know what else to say. Show me it at home ice. Show me it against Nashville on Monday. Otherwise, like, you know, it's that photo of Shaq, the photo of Shaq where he's asleep and then his eyes pop up out of his head. If they win that game, I mean, I still won't have my eyes popping up out of my head if they win on Monday, but at least my eyes can be open. My eyes will be open a little bit. But again, if you can't win on home ice, I cannot buy into you. I just cannot buy into the team.
Well, they have another chance to do it Monday against the Predators, looking for their first road win in the second week of November, which is not something I've ever said when I've been a fan or talking about this team before. So
Mika, for the love of God, shave your head. Just shave your head, Mika. Just do it.
I said to whoever I was sitting next to last night, I said, when you watch the Minnesota High School Hockey State Tournament, they all do that crazy shit with their hair, right? Where they're all either blondes or they all do some sort of. The Rangers just got to come together and be like, we all got to change something, right? Panarin had a 3-point game after shaving his head. You didn't do much last night, but he created some stuff. All of us have
Ted Lasso? Did you watch Ted Lasso?
I did, where they all sacrificed the
somebody's got something at Madison Square Garden. Go into Penn Station, go in the subway, get grimy, get dirty, bring in some of the homeless people on the train in the train station. Everybody just go sacrifice something at Penn Station, because, you know, whatever's working now or whatever's happening now is not working.
Yeah. Or just whatever the bare minimum of the amenities are for a home arena to provide their players by the CBA, do that until they score a goal at home ice.
Win a game.
Win
a goddamn game.
Get a peanut butter sandwich. All right. Well, we will be back hopefully on Thursday to talk about maybe a home win. We don't know.
Probably not.
It's got to happen sometime. You can't. They're not losing 41 games at home, right?
You'd think. You think?
Wrong side of history, but still history. All right. We'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks
for
watching.